Hi class, before we get started, let me just ask you one question. What can a clownfish teach us about interpersonal communication? The answer is a lot. This is Just Keep Communicating, an interpersonal analysis of Finding Nemo. In Finding Nemo, interpersonal communication concepts such as attachment styles, conflict styles, social penetration theory, and family communication patterns are represented throughout the movie by Marlin, Dory, and Nemo, and all the other little fishies of this ocean. Just for background, in case you've been living underneath the rock, maybe underneath the sea in this case, the movie follows Marlin, who's an overprotective father who travels across the ocean to rescue his son Nemo. Throughout this journey, Marlin meets unexpected people or fishes, and he has to challenge his communication style and his own fears. So today I will explain how these concepts are shown in the film and how they shape the characters' relationships with one another. The first one being attachment styles. The definition of attachment styles explains how people form emotional bonds and respond to closeness or fear in relationships. This is shown whenever Marlin has a very anxious attachment towards Nemo, and this is fear driven, and this causes him to be very overprotective over Nemo. And this is seen before the boat scene, before Nemo gets abducted, but Marlin tells Nemo that he can do X, Y, and Z, and then of course Nemo is very combative and defensive and tells him like yes he can, he's gonna defy him. This leads us to conflict theory, which is how individuals handle this disagreement. In this case, Marlin is very controlling, and this causes Nemo to be very reactive. So this is shown how Nemo goes and touches the butt, which is the boat, and obviously he gets abducted because he didn't listen to his dad, who was very anxious and very controlling over him. Our third concept would be social penetration theory, and this is seen throughout the movie whenever him and Dory first meet. He doesn't really trust Dory as much, but then throughout the movie, Dory's helping him. He starts to learn to peel back some layers, and this was what leads us to social penetration theory. Social penetration theory is a method that we reveal information about ourselves layer by layer, and so during this time, he feels a need to tell Dory about the barracuda who ate all of his kids and his wife, and only Nemo was the only survivor at that time. That's why he's so protective of him and why he's traveling across the sea. And in this, we learn that vulnerability builds trust. Lastly, we see family communication patterns, and this is the balance of conversation and conformity. Let's just pretend we're still talking about the beginning of the movie. And in this is when we see high conformity and low conversation between the Marlin and Nemo. So in this instance, high conformity comes from Marlin whenever it's his way or no way, and that's what he expresses to Nemo. This leads Nemo to have a low conversation with his own dad and doesn't feel like he could talk to him as much. This is the emphasis on obedience over discussion. But however, at the end of this movie, Marlin does show some growth at the very end once he rekindles with Nemo. He lets Nemo be more independent and lets him be himself. While yes, Marlin is still anxious, he learns to let go just a little bit. In conclusion, Finding Nemo demonstrates how interpersonal communication shapes our relationships and personal growth. Marlin's anxious attachment influences his parenting. Ineffective conflict styles create emotional distance, and vulnerability strengthens connections through social penetration theory. Additionally, the shift in family communication pattern shows how the trust and openness allow relationships to grow. Ultimately, the film reminds us that healthy communication requires courage, trust, and the willingness to let go. And with that being said, just keep communicating.